What's going on, guys? JSGC here, back again for another Manchester City video. Today we're going to be looking at 5 players that Manchester City could potentially target and sign in the upcoming January 2025 transfer window. So before I do crack on with this video, make sure, like always, if you are enjoying the content, do subscribe. Remember, from January 1st, throughout the whole of January, it's going to be really busy for me because I'm doing my daily Manchester City transfer updates, and it is the easiest way to stay up to date here on YouTube with all the latest City transfer news every single day. So do make sure you have subscribed if you haven't already. It is free. Social media links there in the description if you want to go and follow me on my Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships ready videos or any general business inquiries. Don't forget as well to leave a thumbs up, that would be much appreciated, and do get your thoughts in the comments below. Which players would you like to see Manchester City sign in the upcoming January transfer window? So no particular order, we're just going to crack straight on with speaking about the first player that I think City should be targeting. And to me, I've tried to make this list as realistic as possible. So firstly, I'm going to be speaking about Anthony Robinson, the American left back from Fulham. Apparently his value's been set at £40 million, had a really good season with Fulham, and he has impressed a lot of potential suitors. Now Manchester City are looking at fullbacks in January, and we haven't added a left back in a very long time, and to me he would be a really good signing for Manchester City for a really good price. I've been impressed with Anthony Robinson now for the last couple of seasons, and what we're looking at here is Nathan Ake being very injury prone. It takes a lot of stress off Manchester City on that left hand side, and also you've got Rico Lewis and Kyle Walker more than likely staying at City on that right hand side, so it means that Manchester City need that option potentially on the left hand side with Nathan Ake being injury prone so far this season. It also takes a little bit of pressure off Joško Vardiol too. Anthony Robinson would be a really good option, and it's always good to have options available to our team and have a bit of depth there as well. Premier League proven, affordable price, 27 years old. To me, very doable transfer. All Manchester City need to do is get the ball rolling. And if I was in charge and I was looking at fullbacks, we haven't looked at that left-hand side in so long. Who was the last left-hand sided player that we signed that was a left back that wasn't a left-sided centre back? Was it Benjamin Mendy? Is that how long it's been? Crazy. Anyway, I'd be sorting that out in the January transfer window right there and then, and Anthony Robinson would be the player that I'd be looking at. Now, speaking of defence, moves us on to player number 2, and to me, I feel like we need a centre-back. Injury-prone centre-backs. John Stones, Ruben Diaz not proving his fitness. Akanji's gone a bit injury-prone as well at times this season. So to me, centre-backs is a must. And I'd be looking at former Manchester City man Taylor Harwood-Bellis, soon to be 23-year-old English centre-back, homegrown to the club, homegrown in England, 23 years old, helps bring the average age of the squad down. To me, would make sense. He's getting his first taste of Premier League football with Southampton. We sold him to them for £20 million. We've included a buyback in that transfer and a sell-on fee as well. No word on what that buyback is, but I'd imagine that this would be a really nice and easy transfer, because all City need to do is, the clause is active in the contract, City activate it, they get Taylor Harwood-Bellis to sign on the dotted line, and the transfer is done. Now City will be keeping an eye on all the players that they sell when they've got buybacks included, because you'd be crazy not to keep your eye on that, so we don't have to do our homework. We know how good Taylor Harwood-Bellis is, and to me he'd be a really good option for Manchester City in January. You've got to remember that Manchester City aren't going to go out there and start splashing £100 million on players. They will save that for the summer when they start looking at the really big names and the high profile signings. Right now City need depth in their squad and they need options, and to me Anthony Robinson would be a really good option. Taylor Harwood-Bellis would be a really good option. Just need to know what that buyback is, and if there's anything in the contract that says that that can be activated at any time, and it isn't time stamped, so that means that it can only be activated after 12 months. He's got to do a full season with Southampton, for example. There's no real details on what the transfer involves. Probably more complicated that we had him on loan last season at Southampton whilst he was in the Championship, and there was a clause in that contract that if they were to be promoted, it was mandatory that they had to pay £20 million to make that signing permanent. They have, and if it is possible, I'd be bringing Taylor Harwood-Bellis back in January to provide competitive competition. Nice physical, tall player, Premier League experience there, always a bonus. To me, again, no-brainer. Now, moving on to Gianni Reinders, 26-year-old midfielder from the Netherlands, plays for AC Milan. Good player, not too sure on the price because there's been some conflicting reports. Some are saying 30 to 40 million pounds, others are saying 60 to 80 million pounds. So if it's the latter, I don't think I would go near this, but if it's the former, then maybe I'd be tempted for the right price. But to me, he'd be a really good alternative if we're not going to be making a move for Bruno Guimaraes and Martin Zubimendi, which both them transfers to me are an unrealistic ask in the January transfer window. Bruno G loves Newcastle United. He will not leave them mid-season, and Zubimendi wants options, so I don't think he's going to leave Real Sociedad either in the January transfer window. And to be honest, Zubimendi's getting guaranteed offers from clubs who will be in the Champions League next season. We've got to accept where we are right now. It isn't a guarantee that we'll be in the Champions League next season. So when it comes down to having a battle with players, we could bring them in, but we'd have to be willing to pay them more than everybody else, and it's not how we do our business. So I don't think City will go near that in January. I think they will be having a look at more affordable players instead to try and provide competitive competition for places. So we've got options here to try and bring our players back who we've currently got, who keep picking up injuries, because we're having to rush them back because we've not really got any other option. So Reinders could be an option there for Manchester City. And speaking of options, takes us on to Sudakov. But again, he's another option for Manchester City. Ukrainian central midfielder, covers more of the attacking range rather than the defensive side of things. So we know City are going to be looking at central defensive midfielders, but I was just angling towards this because there is the potential, with Kevin De Bruyne's contract being up in the summer, San Diego want to sign him, and there is some rumours that they could make a move and pay Man City a transfer fee for Kevin De Bruyne to bring him in January. And if Man City do agree to that and they get a good offer in for Kevin De Bruyne, and Kevin De Bruyne says to City he wants to leave now rather than in the summer, we're left short. So there is an option here, and Sudakov is that option. 22-year-old, plays for Shakhtar Donetsk, getting some experience in the Champions League. He's available for £54 million. Spurs, Arsenal, Chelsea, they're also being linked as well, and he has been discussed as a potential long-term replacement for Kevin De Bruyne. Now, I do think there is a risk with this transfer, because when you're bringing players in particular from the Ukraine, we don't know how good they're going to be. You could be bringing in, potentially, a player that could be as good as Fernandinho. What a signing he was for Manchester City, brought him from the Ukraine. But on the other side of things, Chelsea paid top dollar for Mudryk, who's absolutely awful, a huge flop. So you don't know what to expect. They're either going to be outstandingly good and a great option, or they're not going to be a very good option at all, and you end up wasting loads of money. Who knows? If he's available for the right price, might want to make a fee. For me, it'd take Kevin De Bruyne to leave. I do have my doubts over this transfer, but I think if De Bruyne does leave and City are looking for a transfer for somebody to be brought in, if they're worried about the depth, then Sudakov could be an option. Again, might depend on what happens with James McAtee, but we've had a lot of injuries and we're still not utilised McAtee, so my presumption is McAtee more than likely leaves in this January transfer window. Now moving on to player number 5, central defensive midfielder, quite doable, Douglas Luiz, another former Manchester City man. Juventus central midfielder, can cover in central defensive midfield, 26 years old, proven in the Premier League with Aston Villa before he joined Juventus. Brazilian, former City man, knows what to expect at Manchester City as well. Juventus apparently not that keen on him, and they only brought him in the summer from Aston Villa, and even could be available on loan that City could put in a purchase option, maybe with an option to buy. It's a great temporary option here for Manchester City, who are looking short whilst Rodri's got that injury until the end of the season. Now, to me, it would be an option to consider. Gives us strength, gives us legs, gives us experience in our midfield from the Premier League as well. We don't have to break the bank to bring him in. To me, would be a good option for City to consider. So I'd love to know your thoughts. Douglas Luiz, would you make a move for him? Let me know. Now, we do also know that City are going to be looking at strikers. It's a bit difficult for me to start identifying players because we're not really being linked with anybody out there. Evan Ferguson's name keeps cropping up, but I don't think City will be looking at him. Mawani over at PSG keeps getting linked, but again, I just don't see that happening. We were linked in the summer with Kyogo from Celtic, but He's not going to be an option for City in January because reliable sources have said that City just aren't interested in signing him. Samuel Rishi over at Torino could be an option in midfield maybe. We'll keep an eye on what's happening with Joshua Kimmich at Bayern Munich. Recalling Callum Doyle could be an option to help out at the back if we're really desperate. It's going to be a really busy January for Manchester City. I'm expecting minimum 2 to 3 signings for Manchester City, and potentially we could see players leave, including maybe James McAtee. £20 million City are looking for. Clubs are interested. West Ham, Crystal Palace. It could happen as well. So right now, at the time we're recording this, this is where we stand heading into the January transfer window next week. Would love to know your thoughts, guys. Which players would you like to see Manchester City sign that's realistic in the comments below? Also, don't forget as well to leave a thumbs up. That would be much appreciated. Do subscribe. Remember, daily Manchester City transfer updates for January 1st throughout the whole January transfer window for you guys to enjoy here on YouTube. It's free to subscribe, so make sure you have subscribed. Also, don't forget social media links. They're in the description if you want to go and follow me on my Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. And I'll see you all again real soon for the next City video. So I've been JSGC. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope everyone is safe and well. Peace. Ciao for now.